CQ20. CQ20, CQ20, CQ20 meters, CQ20, CQ20, CQ20 meters. CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ. QRZ is the frequency in use. CQ20 meters, CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ. This is November 9, Delta Delta. November 9, Delta Delta. Norway 9, Denmark calling CQ. CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ, CQ20, CQ20 meters, CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ. This is November 9, Delta Delta. November 9, Delta Delta. Norway 9, Denmark calling CQ20 and listening. CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ, CQ20, CQ20 meters, CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ. This is November 9, Delta Delta. Norway 9, Denmark, November 9, Delta Delta, calling CQ20 and listening. CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ calling CQ. CQ20, CQ20 meters, CQ20, CQ20 meters. CQ calling CQ, CQ calling CQ, CQ20, CQ20 meters. This is November 9, Delta Delta. Norway 9, Denmark, November 9, Denmark, calling CQ and listening.
November 9, Delta Delta. November 9, Delta Delta. This is Whiskey Bravo 2, Kilowatt Hotel Oscar. Whiskey Bravo 2, Kilowatt Hotel Oscar.
Oh, Whiskey Bravo 2, Kilowatt Hotel Oscar. Thank you very much there, Lawrence or Larry maybe. You got a good signal. I'll give you a better reading on the over, but very strong here into Atlanta. The name here is Mike, Mexico, India, Kilowatt Echo. And we're about 25 miles straight south of downtown Atlanta in the city of Stockbridge, Georgia. We'll send it back to you, WB2 KHO, and November 9, Delta Delta.
Okay, very good. November 9, Delta Delta. Whiskey Bravo 2, Kilowatt Hotel Oscar. Well, thanks for calling back to the call there. I should, I guess you should maybe come back to your call. You don't want to call CQ, but anyway, neither here nor there. Yeah, I was wandering around here, the band, looking for KA6 MMS, so I thought I'd give you a call. Had a good, strong signal. I don't know when they're supposed to come on, but I'm looking at the, the Facebook and everything, but doesn't seem to be anything posted yet. Name is Steve, actually. You notice the middle initial there on my coming up. And I'm located up here in Queens, New York, about 8 kilometers east of the Empire State Building. You're well above 9 here. Nice signal up to New York this afternoon, coming up on evening, actually. So back over there to you. I think you said the name was John. NN9DD WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta Delta, returning. Yeah, and the name here is Mike, Mexico, India, Kilowatt Echo, Mike. And now you got a good signal. Right after I told you had a good signal when you first started talking, you basically fell off the map, a lot of QSB, but then you came right back up to about a 5.7, 5.8, and very strong here into Atlanta. So you're waiting on a KH6. Is there a de-expedition I'm missing or something? I'd like a little more information on that. I I guess I've been working so much I haven't been paying attention, so who knows. But yeah, if you can give me some information on that. We're running a Flex Radio 6600, about 400 watts right now into a G5 RV, 102 foot long, up about 80 foot. So that's our operating conditions here, Steve. KB2, KHO, NN9DD.
Okay, Mike, NN9DD, WB2KHO returning. Okay, fine business. Actually, call is Whiskey Bravo 2 Kilowatt Hotel Oscar. This call is 55 years old. I'm not a new licensee. Anyway, fine on that. Yeah, no, it's not a KH6. I'm looking around for Last Man Standing club station. This will be on the air this afternoon. KH6 LMS out there in Los Angeles. NN9DD, WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta returning. Yeah, fine business. Yeah, the Last Man Standing set, Roger on that. And yeah, no, I have it in the log as Whiskey Bravo 2, but I guess I'm just stuck on saying kilowatt. So yeah, I've got you down as Whiskey Bravo 2 Kilowatt Hotel Oscar up there in Flushing, New York. And now you got a good signal, holding real strong, and wonder what you're running. You're sounding good here into Atlanta, over.
Okay, fine business, Mike. Yeah, it's very good on that. Yeah, I've, I haven't worked too many of those Flex radios that coming up as SDRs are sounding pretty good. The only thing I have objection to those originally is that if you had an SDR, if your computer crashed or something like that, you were off the air. That was it. It weren't going to on the air again until you got your computer fixed. So if you that was it. It was that was still your operating. But I think they fixed that in some way that you don't have to rely completely on your computer anymore when you operate. Anyway, I've got a hybrid here. I've got a actually it is an SDR. It was considered an SDR. I don't know what the story is on this stuff, but I'm not too tech savvy on this. But I have a ICOM IC7610 here, and it's a partial SDR, and it really works very nicely for me. I only had it for about 8 months, but I'm really beginning to get the hang of it and really enjoying it. So anyway, wonder what you do down there in Georgia. I'm a retired phone company worker, about going on 11 years now. I'm 71. So back over to you. NN9DD, WB2KHO. That's a tongue twister.
Thank you. Yeah, it can be sometimes. WB2KHO, November 9, Delta returning. Yeah, fine business on the phone company there. We are, I guess, what I'm going to call semi-retired, or taking a break anyway. We left a position about a year ago and been doing some consulting on the side and just kind of doing some stuff around the house, enjoying life and enjoying the summer. But we're getting ready to head back to work here this fall. So I guess the semi-retirement is over after a year. But we work in healthcare as a basically an outside services consultant. Basically running things that are non-clinical in hospitals is kind of what I do. So that's what we'll be going back to this fall and what we did prior. So that's our story here. But we've had a great year, just working around the house, doing some things with the radios, doing some startup work on a ham radio support venture that I've just about got up and running. So just kind of having some fun.
Okay, fine. I think you might have turned it back to me. Not sure. I just checked there. Okay, very good, Mike. Yeah, I know that. It sounds interesting. I don't know what kind of venture that is, or what area of the hobby or that encompasses, but it sounds like an interesting thing to do. I belong to a club, one club. Fortunately, I'm not completely in agreement with. They focus completely on public service, and I think there's more to ham radio than that, and I'd really like to them to have a more diverse program. So I've opted to stay out of it, and belong to another club also to fulfill those needs. I guess it doesn't matter anyway. I'm planning on moving, so they're not going to be in my field of view for for a while. So fine business on the medical there. I guess you're involved in administration, that kind of thing, for hospitals. So that's good. We got to keep those hospitals financially healthy. They're not going to be able to help us. So back over to you. NN9GD, WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta, returning. Yeah, no, basically, I'm in administration or a manager at hospitals. I actually don't work for the hospitals. I work for a third-party organization who works at the hospital. So I'm a member of the management team, but generally not employed by the hospital. I'm employed by an outside company. The venture that I've been working on is if you go and look at hamradiosupportonline.com or HRSO.net, Hotel Radio Sierra, HRSO, Hotel Radio Sierra Oscar.net, HRSO.net. That's the website I'm working on, and it is basically a third-party support for software-defined radios, and really any ham radio option. We're just getting ready to launch it, and we'll help people get their new radios online, help solve issues that people are having with different software packages, and basically just take what people have, help them get it running, help them learn how to use it, and solve issues generally. It's never going to make me rich, but we'll monetize a hobby and make it so that you can both earn a little bit of a living and enjoy the hobby at the same time. So HRSO.net is the website for the company or the business that I'm getting in ready to start here. If you want to take a look at that, but that's the ham radio piece that I've been starting on, and I've also been working with some friends who were in the remote radio business and helping them get their startup going, and they should be launching this fall, and they'll have remote radio stations all over the country to lease to people who are in antenna restricted communities or just want to chase DX and stuff like that. And I love I love all things radio. So anytime I get a chance to do something new, whether it's remoting, supporting or anything, I really enjoy it and love to do it. But yeah, we've been licensed for, I guess, I don't want to say it, but I guess 39 years. Got our license back in 1980. So I guess next year will be 40 years, which just sounds way too scary. I'm only 55. So I got my license when I was 15 and still in high school. But man, it hurts to say 40 years I've been licensed. Over.
Okay, very good, Mike. Wow. All right. That's really good. I guess you must have changed your call time a couple of times since then. I'm not, maybe not. I don't know. Whether you're issuing N, 2x2s and with that with the N prefix back then or not, I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, my license is 55 years old. Actually 56 this year. This month. So it's pretty old, and I also got my license when I was 15 years old. So we have something in common. I started out as a tech. Few years later, I was a general, and then I said a couple of years after that, I stayed that way until 2000, and I got my extra when they take care of the eliminated the 20 word per minute code requirement. That was a stumbling block for me, obviously. Still don't do too much code work. Have a little problem with hand-ear coordination. That's my big stumbling block with the code. So otherwise it will be fine. So anyway, very good. Yeah, I don't know if that your website would help me with my semi-SDR radio. The one thing that they tell you about this radio when you select it is it has firmware that can be updated, and then in another sentence they tell you watch out, be careful, it's tricky, to do. And then and that puts you off right then and there. I may never update the firmware on this radio, because if I do try it, I may end up costing me a small fortune to send it back to ICOM to be fixed. So maybe your website will help me, or your back to you. NN9DD WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta. Yeah, no, I've messed with the 7610, and it's, nothing to be afraid of. Just make sure you follow the steps in the book, and it'll work just fine. It's not a difficult process, but like I said, just follow the steps. If they say shut the radio off after you do this, shut the radio off after you do that, and everything will be fine. I don't actually know anybody who's bricked one trying to do an update, but I suppose if you unplug it right in the middle of doing the update, or shut it down right in the middle of doing the update, and it only gets half of the firmware, that could cause an issue. But short of a power outage, I don't think you can really mess it up as long as you follow the steps there. But yeah, so that's the website we're working on, and basically those are the types of issues. There's a lot of people who go out and get these Anons and Flexes and Sun SDRs and all these high fancy SDR radios that need the computers and all the software to make them work, and don't necessarily understand how to make them work. So that's a hole that I want to fill and help people, not just get them up and running, but mentor them and tutor them on how to use it to get the most out of their radio. So that's really what I'm focused on, is helping people understand what they got and how to use it, and helping with the occasional software configuration issue with N1MM and stuff like that, just so that people can get on the air faster and have a better, more enjoyable experience, and get the most out of the money that they've spent in the hobby there. Over.
Well, that's very admirable. I hope that a lot of people benefit from this website they're just putting up there. It sounds like a real ambitious project. Yeah, I've got...
I just have, a
little trepidation when I get involved in some of these things, and hope that... and it does tend to be a little bit scary for me. But I get through it, and sometimes it costs me a little more to do that, and the lesson learned. But well, that's the way it is. Yeah. So what have, aside from that, what was the first your first interest in the hobby back in 40 years ago when you first started? What was your main interest in the? What were things that you can do with ham radio? Mike. So back to you. NN9DD WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta returning. Yeah, how I got introduced to ham radio was my father had a intern working for him at the place of his employment, and he was a ham radio operator, 21, 22, right out of college. So, I was 15, and my dad got interested in it, and I got interested in it probably because my dad did, and it seemed cool. I guess the part I liked was just being able to talk to different people around the world and not have to use a telephone. Back in the early 80s, it was just way expensive to use a telephone even to call around the world. So, it was just exciting. I, like you, took the license and got the licenses with when you still had to pass the high-speed code or the 20 words a minute code. So, like you, we know the code, but we don't practice it a lot. I can probably send and receive at about 20 words a minute still. But I do a lot of contesting, and the guys that I hang with that contest for CW, they're shooting 35, 40 words a minute, and I just can't keep up. So I do all the phone stuff for the contest group, but I don't mess too much with the CW because other than helping fill in while somebody goes to the restroom, I'm just not much good at it. So that's our story there. But yeah, I think what got me was just the idea of being able to talk to people all over the world, and something was kind of neat about sitting in your basement and just having a wire over your head outside and being able to talk around the world. My first contact was KC4 AAA South Pole Station. Was my very first contact as a technician, and I did it on, I think it was 10-meter CW back in the summer of 1980. And that just had me hooked right there to think that I could talk to the South Pole. It was just really cool. So, I wish everybody could have that kind of first experience because it might lock more people in for life. But, I was fortunate enough to do it, and it got me hooked, and it's the rest is, history, so to speak. KB2 or WB2 KHO and N9DD.
Okay, fine, very good. NN9DD, WB2KHO. Yeah, I've been a big DXer all the time I've been licensed, and I made the honor roll a few years ago, and of course I never think about making the top of the honor roll, but I would love to be able to do it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Not with all of the political situations and everything else, and some of these tiny little entities, that people will probably never go back to again because it was so hard to activate them in the first place. But I do enjoy that. However, I still like doing this, sitting down and chewing the fat because that's part of this, the hobby, and is learning from other people who you talk with on the air. Who are involved in so many different pursuits and professions in their lives. And that's something that you try to convey to young people these days over these, arguing, well, I can get on the cell phone and talk to somebody in Australia, but, you have to know who you're calling. You're not going to just put out a call on the cell phone and get somebody interesting to talk with.
Frequency is in use.
Frequency's in use?
This is much more
Roger.
Enjoyable
no problem,
to me.
Buddy. Take care, 7-3.
But I was going to say, my experience, my indoctrination into the world of radio was through CB when my father got licensed back in the 50s, and he transitioned to ham radio from that. I think a lot of CBs did that back then. Of course, I never held a call on my own. I think you could use a portion of your father's call, some kind of slash something or another. I think they had the licensing was much different then for CB. And then after that, I got the technician license on 6 meters and 2 meters AM. This is before. While SSB was just beginning, and 6 meter and 2 meter AM for quite a while, until I went down and got my general. So I got a Swan 350, and at the time I used it to copy W1AW code practice in order to get my general. I was sitting there on the desk. I knew I couldn't use it, and I had to, practice hard and go down and get the code down, and so I could take the test and pass it. So that was my incentive. And of course, after that, it just came that I wanted to use more and more of the bands. So anyway, that's the story with me. So back over to you, NN9DD, WB2KHO.
WB2KHO, November 9, Delta, returning. Yeah, my dad was into CB2. I don't think that's really what got me hooked on ham radio, but yeah, he was into CB2. I still remember his call, KER 6133 was, I think, his call back in the day, if I remember it right. And, so kind of very similar to you as far as the background goes. But anyway, I probably ought to get back downstairs. I just came up here to sit for a few minutes while I was waiting for a coat of paint to dry. I'm doing a little bathroom repainting. And need to get that done here before the XYL gets home, and was just kind of sitting here waiting for the first coat to dry. So I probably ought to go downstairs and get the second coat on so that I can get it all cleaned up before she gets home. But it's been a pleasure this afternoon, Steve, chatting with you, and hopefully we can do it again. And give me a shout anytime you see me online. But I'll let you put the ribbons on it, and we'll look for you again down the log. And I really did enjoy it. WB2KHO, November 9, Delta. Thank you, and good afternoon, sir.
Okay, very good, Michael. You get that bathroom well taken care of. You want to make sure that what paint dries, so you can go in there and take a shower without fogging things up and and then spoiling the job. So very good 73 to you. Talk with you a little bit later on down the coax. November 9, Delta, Whiskey Bravo 2, Kilo Hotel Oscar, off and clear.
73s and QRT from November 9, Delta.